The chair was never meant for sleeping. It was designed for waiting, which is a different posture entirely. Waiting keeps you upright, alert, compliant. Sleeping requires surrender, and the chair resisted that. Its vinyl stuck to the backs of my legs. One arm was shorter than the other. Like it had given up halfway through its responsibilities. I learned the sound of the room instead. The soft pneumatic sigh of the IV pump. The distant scrape of a cart in the hallway. My daughter's breathing, shallow, but steady enough that the nurse had nodded before dimming the lights. That nod had become my permission to exist for another hour. My phone lay face down on my thigh. I hadn't checked it in a while, not because I was being brave or present, but because nothing good ever arrived after midnight. The family group chat sat untouched. A row of names, frozen. No typing bubbles. No, any update. No awkward heart emojis from cousins who didn't know what to say. I told myself they were asleep, or scared, or giving me space. It was easier to believe that than to name the other possibility. The message came at 1:47 a.m. Not in the group chat. Direct. Surgical. Mom says you should help with the honeymoon. You're rich now, right? I read it twice, then, a third time, because exhaustion can make words rearrange themselves, but it stayed exactly the same. No greeting. No question about my daughter. No acknowledgement of where I was or why I hadn't been answering. Just logistics. I didn't respond. I didn't feel the rush of anger people describe. It was more like something went quiet inside me, as if a machine I'd been tolerating for years finally shut itself off. Rich. I looked at my daughter. Her hair was matted against the pillow, the way it always was when she slept too hard. There was a faint bruise at her wrist where the IV had been replaced earlier. I had signed 3 forms that day without fully reading them. I could tell you the nurse's name, the doctor's schedule, the exact number of ceiling tiles above the bed. I could not tell you when my family had last asked me how I was doing without also asking for something else. I thought about explaining, about typing out a calm response. I'm at the hospital. She's critical. This isn't the time. I imagined the apologies that would follow, the backpedaling, we didn't mean it like that. I imagined myself accepting them, because that was what I always did. I smoothed things. I absorbed discomfort. I made it easier for everyone else to feel reasonable. Instead, I opened my banking app. It wasn't dramatic. No trembling hands. No symbolic gesture. Just a thumbprint and a familiar interface. The numbers were there, exactly as they'd been earlier that day. I understood, suddenly, that this was the story they'd been telling each other while my daughter was being intubated. That I was fine. That I was flush. That I was, as always, available. The recurring transfers stood out once I looked for them. Small amounts steady, tuition help, temporary, support that had lasted years, access I had never formally offered but had never revoked either. One by one. No messages sent. No announcements made. I didn't block anyone. I didn't feel righteous. I felt contained, like closing a door against noise, not people. The phone buzzed 10 minutes later. Then again, I flipped it face down without checking. The chair creaked when I shifted my weight. My daughter stirred, frowned, then settled. By morning, the screen lit up with a number that felt almost abstract. 26 missed calls. A handful of voicemails. Text previews stacked on top of each other, the tone escalating from confusion to accusation to concern that felt newly discovered. I didn't listen to any of them right away. A social worker came in during rounds. She spoke softly but with authority, the kind that didn't ask permission. Visiting hours. Device use. The need for calm in the room. I handed her my phone without protest. It felt like relief disguised as compliance. When she left, the room felt smaller, quieter. My daughter's vitals were marginally better. Not good, but better. The doctor didn't promise anything. He never did. He explained, carefully, what the next 24 hours might look like. I nodded, asked the right questions, took notes I wasn't sure I'd ever reread. When my phone was returned hours later, I saw the messages had multiplied. My sister, my mother, an aunt I hadn't spoken to in months, offers to talk, warnings about overreacting. One message that said, "We were just trying to plan." You didn't have to do this. I sat with that sentence longer than the others. I thought about all the times planning had happened around me, not with me. All the emergencies I had handled quietly, because making noise felt selfish. I thought about how quickly concern appeared once access disappeared. I didn't respond that day. Or the next. My daughter improved incrementally. Enough that the nurse smiled. Enough that I let myself sleep for 40 minutes in the chair without jolting awake. Progress without triumph. Survival without a moral lesson attached. When I finally did listen to the voicemails, I noticed something that surprised me. None of them asked about her until the end. As if remembering was an afterthought, something to be tacked on once the real issue had been addressed. I deleted the banking app from my home screen. Not in anger, just as a practical measure. I needed fewer portals right then, not more. I don't know what my family tells each other now. I assume their version where I'm cold. Where stress made me unreasonable. Where money turned me into someone else. I know what happened instead. I stopped filling the silence for them. And in that quiet, something shifted, subtly, permanently. Not a victory. Not revenge. Just a line drawn in a place I should have marked years ago. My daughter slept. The machines hummed. Morning light crept in through a window that didn't open. And for the first time since we arrived, the chair felt almost steady enough to sit in.